going to Comic-Con, I heard that you had given these pins out for people to go to the screening, and they all thought that they had to follow you, and they ended up going to your hotel. Is that true?
No, that's not true. I read that on the internet. That as hundreds of people could attest, I walked with them all the way to the theater. I read that on the internet as well. They said Edgar Wright went back to his hotel afterwards, thinking. I said, I need the corroboration of the people who were right behind me the whole time, because I did a Q&A walking down the street. So no, that's not true.
There must be a doppelganger that is pretending to be you, kind of like...
No, what happened is I think a bunch of people went the wrong way and ended up lining up for Penn and Teller instead. Oh, no. So I personally took hundreds of people like 6 blocks up the street.
As a director for a comic book that is so well loved, was the pressure on when you presented it? What was it like to kind of introduce it to this like audience of rabid fans, really?
Well, you know, it's obviously kind of nerve-wracking, that kind of thing, but like we worked with Brian Lee O'Malley really closely over like a 5-year process. So I knew that he was happy, and so that was good enough for me, really. I think it's really tricky to kind of answer all the fans, so I just wanted to make sure that Brian was happy with the process, you know.
You have a very specific type of, like I watch Space and you know, so there's a very specific stamp to the kind of stuff that you do. So when a title has so much of its own personality into it, how do you as a filmmaker kind of like implant certain things, or do you just kind of let your ego go and just kind of do what's right for the film?
I don't know. I mean, I guess the sort of I think the nice thing about this was actually me and Brian have very similar like tastes, and you know, I love the artwork in his books, and a lot of the references or the things, the influences of the, you know, the media and, you know, kind of pop culture that he's grown up on are also mine as well. So it actually sort of seemed like a nice fit that like, so I tried to be kind of within the spirit of the books even when we diverge, but definitely, I mean, obviously I think it probably has my stamp on it as well, but like, you know, it is the movie of the books, and the books will always be there, and they are the canon, and that's the sort of the, you know, and this is the adaptation and stuff. So it was kind of fun to kind of like run with the ball a little bit, and Brian was totally cool with that, you know.
It's really interesting to be making a film like this for a big studio when it's very specific to the audience that it seems to be. You know, it's manga, it's comic books, it's, you know, music and stuff. So I don't know, to kind of work on a film like that, but yet still have the backing of a big studio. Was that interesting on your end to kind of be like, oh wow, they're kind of thinking outside the box, or, you know, like?
Well, it's definitely, I mean, I'm very, like, you know, very fortunate, like, sort of to work with Universal on this, and it definitely strikes me as funny that, like, you know, my first studio film is, like, really crazy. So I like that, but then I think the only thing that I can do is that I have to make the film that I would like to see, and then hope that other people are on board. I think sometimes if you kind of chase a demographic, or that you're kind of being very cynical in terms of the people you're trying to reach, I think people can sort of smell that a mile off and stuff. So I think sort of really like I have to kind of like, one, I wanted to make sure that Brian was happy, and two, I'm kind of making the film for myself. And then I think that's what I've always done with like Spaced and Sean and Hot Fuzz, is like sort of what would I like to see. Sometimes I even try and imagine how it would feel if I try and recapture the feelings I had when I was younger and I watched films. Like the first time I saw Gremlins or Ghostbusters or American Werewolf in London, and how I felt when I saw those at the theater, and try and kind of recapture that thrill, really.
Did you find that Michael also has that approach to the way he approaches his characters and stuff like that? Because there is a kind of really sweet naivete to his performance, but yet at the same time he, you know, he is this lead and he's in every single scene, and so he obviously has a drive that wants to make sure that this is done properly too.
I think so. I think so. Michael, you know, I hope you know, that he felt like he was in a safe pair of hands, in terms of he has a lot to do in the film, like not just the comedy and the drama, but like the music and the action as well. And like the music he had no problem with. He's like a really great guitarist, and then the action was like sort of, it's, you know, you know, you're putting him in these kind of like situations, and so it's like meticulously planned, and like the stunt coordinators are so great in the way that they design things, so that it's really kind of it's easier for the actors to learn. It's not easy. There's one shot in the film where Michael does this kind of samurai move where he slices like 4 guys and spins around the floor on his knees, and you know, Michael like rehearsed that a lot to get it right, and we went through like 18 takes, and then it was on the 18th take we nailed it, and you could just see his relief of like, oh, thank God for that. Like we got it.